The condition is really crazy condition.
I mean, that shouldn't give away the whole secret to professional windsurf.
Matteo Iachino giving Antoine Albo a run for his money. Here we go. What a finish.
The guy is kind of talking bullshit.
The team's just got to work a little harder. Welcome to the Windsurfing Podcast, back again for episode 55. And this week, we have a little treat for you. You asked for girls, and we're going to bring you them. 3 to be precise, all from different countries, but they share one vision, an Olympic gold medal. They have got together and created a team. What are we going to talk to them about? We're going to talk to them about sponsorship. We're going to talk to them about the reality on the PWA tour. We're going to talk to them about topless pictures, feminism. We're going to talk to them about a whole lot more. A super interesting chat from a younger generation. Can Maciek handle it? That is the question. And who is it? Well, it is, of course, the World of Wind Girls.
Recording in progress. That's official. Can't believe it.
Hey girls, you nervous?
Yes. Absolutely.
Why though?
No, not that. Because you're the podcast in the windsurfing world, and we just started, and it feels like we made it after just 10 days of launching the brand. So
I mean, I was the podcast because I was the only one. So it's not really
okay.
It's not really an accomplishment, is it?
No, you're doing a great job, Maciek. So we're very honored to be here.
We are.
Let's see if you think the same in an hour.
Yeah, that's my fear.
Like, this is why we are scared. Like,
Yes.
we have no idea what you prepared for us.
Shit scared.
No, it's gonna be fine. Don't worry. Okay, so the producer of this show prepared some bios of you girls, and I'm gonna quickly introduce you. Let's go for the people watching on YouTube from right to left, if you don't mind, or left to right, whatever. Yeah, right to left.
Right to left. Go ahead.
Right to left. Okay. Sarah Wenekes, 26. Dramatic pause. Let it sink in. Holland, PWA Croatia winner, van speeding specialist, the muscle of the group. Helle Oppedal. I'm trying to get my Norwegian pronunciation. 20.
Yes, you tried.
Norway, PWA foil vice world champion. Enjoys a good glass of wine and a good catapult. The brains of the group.
Yes.
Elena Schandera, 20.
Well done.
Out of Switzerland, med student on a gap year or multiple gap years. Likes cows and dirty jokes. The PR marketing of the group.
Wow, this is such a good introduction.
Wow, I like that.
Great summary.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well done.
So very quick one. So let's get into the actual interview. Pretty different backgrounds from you three as listed previous just now. And now you three like share a coach, share apartments, cars, you share a podcast, you share pretty much everything. How did you decide to team up, and like, do you secretly regret it and just don't want to be the odd one telling the other two?
Yes, that has been my issue, how to tell that to you girls for a long while now. And finally, this is my opportunity. So back. No, like, how did we start actually?
I guess, so we met 1 year ago in Tenerife, and we went there for the trainings that are organized there every year. And we kind of met separate from each other, but we always had this good vibe between us. So whenever we were going to a regatta, we would just either share an apartment, because we were just individuals, you know, we were always a little bit the loners traveling amongst everyone that was with a team, for example. So we kind of found each other through the competitions and through traveling together. And it kind of came natural. I think it's not that at one point we just decided, like we said, we were searching for it. It came really natural.
And for sure, it was also because of like finances, because at one point it's just not possible to do everything on your own anymore. And you always have to share in a way anyways. And I think we're just really lucky to have found each other. And also Sarah and I actually met in a little bit of a different dynamic, because last year in Tenerife, she was kind of acting as my coach a little bit. She was training me. She was helping me get into the whole windsurfing world. And then over time, we realized that we actually have things to give and to take from each other. And it kind of evolves into this mutual beneficial friendship. And then
Beneficial friendship.
yeah, like that's
Okay.
I was not the student anymore at one point. And then I don't know, and then Hella came in from Sarah's side, and actually we always paused each other in a way, but never really connected.
Yeah.
And I feel like everything started taking on form in Marignan at the PWA event, where there was no wind for 10 days.
Yeah, and there we kind of decided that we would be stronger together if we share all our knowledge, all our network and our finances too, because it's expensive having a coach for yourself. So there we kind of decided that no, we're going to be a team and we're going to do this together.
And we started a podcast, so that was also
Yeah, that bonded very much.
Yeah. So it's like what, 6 months in, 5 months in, or whatever, into the whole thing.
Only. Oh my god.
And
it
how
feels
do
like
you?
a lifetime.
Because if I think that I would have to team up, I don't know, with Enrico and Jordi or whatever. I mean, we're friends, we like each other, we hang out or whatever, but we would fucking kill each other after like a week. How does it go? Because you're competing against each other, not only in contests, but every day in training, and you know, nobody does a sport professionally when they're not competitive. So how do you balance it out? I want to know for myself, because I can't compete with someone and be best of friends. So
Yeah, I think when I speak from my side, I just feel like it makes us stronger in a way, because if you're alone, like for me, I've been traveling alone before this, and just pushing yourself and motivating myself, it was there, but I felt that you girls give me that extra energy. So also on the days where you don't feel like you want to push, you know, there's someone that can actually help you get through it. And that's been like a really, really big advantage to me. And also, yeah, for example, Helle, she was last year, took the second place in PWA in the foil. And I was like, yes, well, this girl's fast. So if we can help each other to get even faster, you know, then we are going to be the ones fighting for that spot, and then hopefully for the first spot. And just with that mindset, that just knowing that if you push each other, it's also going to make me better. So even on my bad days, you know, like I know in the end, I'm going to get better.
Yeah, and I think also what for me also kind of, or the things that we also say usually is that with a scientific approach, if you would look at it like that, it is already shown a lot that an athlete actually gets a lot better if they are surrounded by a supportive community. And also I do feel like if you now talk about the Olympic campaigns, while we are super competitive on the course, in the end, no one's going to take away the other person's national spot, because we're all from different nations. So I think we're super lucky to have found a way to push each other to the very best without taking something away from each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because in normal national teams, it's very competitive within the team to get the Olympic spot and everything. So I feel like those teams are, I don't like, they're probably very good, but I feel like they have a competition among themselves, and we don't really have that.
Yeah,
exactly. And
bonus question on that. Do you think it's the dumbest rule ever? Do you share my opinion that it's the dumbest rule ever that one out of a country goes? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Defies the purpose of sporting to me. Like it's, you know, it's the opposite of competition actually, you know, because
I think there's different ways where for sure you can find a structure where it's going to feel more fair, I guess. Yeah, seeing other people, especially with a competition like the Olympics, seeing other people go there that might not have the level to actually compete for a medal, whereas there's also people that are actually really good, and not just for us, like you see that in every national team.
Yeah,
I agree. However, I think this way is my chance to actually qualify, so
Like, yeah, I mean, I do see the point and I agree, but for me, it's super exciting that I still get a chance because of all the rules that are in place at this moment.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, one boring windsurfing question each before we get to the really nitty gritty.
Oh, wow. No.
Okay, let's go right to left again. So Sarah, you went through like the classic system where you were in a club, then you were in the junior team, youth team, on big techno, you know, funded nationally. Then you did a campaign on RSX, didn't qualify, unfortunately, for the Olympics. And now you kind of decided to just be your own boss, you know, run your own stuff. And we had a little chat at the beach about, you know, being slightly not conflicted, but maybe the federation not really seeing what you're up to. Like, do you like enjoy the freedom of doing your own stuff, or would you rather be kind of back in the structure that you sort of grew up in, right?
Yeah. So for a long time, I was actually really scared of leaving that structure because it's all that I knew. I went into professional sports since I was 16. I've been in a team for 5 to 6 years, I guess. So that's a long time where you just know one thing. And I feel like now experiencing that freedom made me realize as well that I was a little bit tunnel vision there as well, because now I started really believing and feeling that there's multiple ways that you can approach a campaign. And I think I left the team in 2019 because of injuries, not making my limits. And I actually also took a break off to just, you know, get the time to, figure out my way. And because of just getting back into windsurfing again, just for the love of the sport and taking that own path, I feel like I'm way more aware of how I am approaching my campaign, how I want to, what mindset I windsurf with, and just what I need as well to become a better windsurfer. So I would not want to get back to that structure for sure. Yeah. Like, I think always, don't get me wrong, in a federation, there's so much knowledge. So I'm actually really fortunate that I gained a lot of experience in a federation on how to run a professional campaign, and now taking that with me into my own campaign, I think, I just know how it kind of needs to, like, what is one way, and now I can fully adjust it to my needs. But the struggle with finances and doing everything on your own has been there. So that's also why this team, I feel like, is actually gonna be the next step for me.
Yeah. And do you see a difference between, like, you keep using the word campaign, which is basically a 4-year thing, while probably on the professional side of the sport, or what are you doing now, combining the two, you know, the Olympic and the professional side? Like, you're more like you're thinking next day rather than the next 4 years, right? I mean,
I think for me, it's kind of a long-term thing anyway. So whether I did not establish that my windsurf campaign is going to be until 2024. It's more maybe career would then be the better word to say, windsurfing career, because I don't know where it's going to end, whether it's going to be at 2024, 2028, 2020, 2030. I don't know. Like, as long as I can do this for now, I would love to be a professional windsurfer. And I think, in my opinion, to have the Olympics as the end goal isn't anyways the way to go. I don't know, like, to be so fixated on one event, that's not my attitude anymore anyways. So, yeah. If you let yourself be defined by a 5-day event, it's exactly.
might run into some problems.
Anyway,
moving on. Hella, so similar situation, let's say, you know, you did big techno, but then you kind of refused to do RSX, and you just like, okay, I'm gonna be a foiler. Before foiling went Olympic, and before foiling was really even on the PWA, or maybe it was kind of similar time, right? Why? And like, I mean, I know why, but tell us why.
So yeah, I just thought like big techno was super fun because you had like an environment with a lot of people which had the same passion as you and on the same age and stuff. But when I tried foiling, I fully fell in love with foiling. And so when I had to decide between approaching 2020 Olympics in 2020, or if I wanted to go foiling, and the decision was not very hard because I really enjoyed foiling, and no matter if it would be Olympic or not, I knew that was where I would be the most happy. So that was actually the whole reason why I started foiling, is because I really love it.
Yeah. And now like with PWA, the disciplines are combined for the first year this year for the girls. 2021 was for the guys already. So you openly admit that you hate Finn windsurfing, or
she cannot jive. You can just say she cannot jive on the fin.
I cannot jive on the fin.
So like no matter what the conditions, you're gonna stick to the foil. Like if it's 35 knots, wavy, like some of the days we have in Tenerife, you just stick to the foil.
For sure, I'm gonna stick to the foil no matter what. Because that is what I enjoy the most. Like I actually used to sail fin before, so I know how to do it, but it's not like, I feel like foiling is just more my thing. It feels more like me in a way. And I also believe that is the future fully. So I just enjoy it a lot. Like high wind foiling, it's just, I love it. It's just so exciting. Like you can like crash and die at any time. And that excitement is just,
yeah.
It does sound a little bit psycho when you put it like that.
It does. I just realized.
For the people listening on Spotify, when Helle said crash and die, her face just lit up like it's the most exciting thing in the world.
Oh God. And the fact that we can all relate makes it somehow worse.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, Elena, when you met the two girls on your left and on our right, they were already kind of living the life of a pro windsurfer, we'll get to making money as a windsurfer, but you kind of met them and then you just decided, okay, like I want to be that too. Like you were kind of a free ride weekend warrior, right? And then you just decide, okay, I'm gonna go to Tenerife and I'm gonna fucking just be one of the best in the world. Is that as simple as that?
Well, it was almost as simple. Like I wasn't even a weekend free rider. I was a 1 week a year free rider. Just like not able to jibe, not able to tack, nothing. Like I could plane in both foot straps and that's it. And then actually I made the decision before I met the girls. So I saw the IQ foil team Italy train in Lake Garda. And I thought, oh, that looks really cool. And my dad happened to have a starboard foil. So I went out on the water, my first session ever on the foil. I was so scared. Did the beautiful dolphin ride. It was like crashing left and right. And there's still a video of me where I come off the water and I tell to my dad like, Dad, I'm going to go to the Olympics 2024. And I think my dad is about as crazy as me. And he was like, all right, if you want to do that, let's go. And I booked my Tenerife trip for January. I had just started med school also, and I just bought the whole equipment, the whole gear, couldn't even jibe on the foil yet. Came to Tenerife, probably the worst place to learn foiling. And that's where it started. But I had decided before, and then luckily I met the girls because they were like, wow, this poor girl, like we need to help her. So these two and Blanca Alabau also, they started supporting me. And then I just saw their life and I was like, whoa, I want that also now. So on top of the goal I already had, I saw how you can really realize it through the girls. And yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world. So here we are.
That's great. Sometimes it's give me a funny story.
There's too many funny stories. Oh my God. Like I also remember just walking over the boulevard in Tenerife and then seeing this Swiss girl. I'm like, wow, full IQ SAD. Who is she? You know, like maybe she's good. We're gonna have another training partner. And then she didn't know how to foil.
Like the course, you know, the upwind course. it took me 3 months to understand how to sail the course because I just didn't get it. Like I just would foil behind the girls, but they would all go in different directions because, you know, of tactical decisions and so on. And I just didn't know. So yeah, and I broke Blanca's sail also on about the second week. So yeah, there was a lot of downs until there were ups, but yeah.
I have to say it's super cool. I think it's super inspiring that someone's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for this, I'm gonna throw myself in the deep. And yeah,
I agree 100%. And sometimes we overthink stuff and it's like it's just so simple, just fucking go and try, you know.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. That's really cool. So we touched a little bit on the Olympics, the campaign and whatever, but all three of you are now also doing the PWA tour. And it's something that is, for windsurfing standards, publicized quite well. You know, it's on social media. You can have a little bit of insights on Insta stories and whatever. So before you started doing it, I guess this is not for you. This is not a question for you, Helle, because I remember you like tiny 14-year-old being on the tour already. So
Yes.
like not saying a word to anybody.
Yes, very much scared.
Really?
Yes. I came there like a little kid and I saw this
With big
huge
eyes,
guy. Whoa, that I only saw on television, and I was like, whoa.
Wow.
No,
So
yeah,
I guess a question, like, how did you imagine it before you started doing it, and what was like the difference in reality? Like PWA World Tour.
It sounds probably really bad, but honestly, I did not know much about PWA because I really did stumble into it just as I did with the Olympic campaign. So I did my first PWA in Croatia, and I just went because the girls went. So I was like, oh, cool, I love Croatia anyways, I'm just gonna join. I did remember hearing about wave PWA because my dad used to be a professional slalom sailor, and then we didn't really talk about his career a lot, but a friend of ours was a really good wave sailor. So I remember hearing about that, and I just thought, well, I'm never going to get there anyways because I'm just not on that level. And then suddenly I was there, which was super fun and super, super nice. And all I knew before that was some of the Olympic competitions or of the IQ foil competitions. And it was just very different and very much more my style, super relaxed. There was music, people were actually having fun. There was a lot of people like around also that were not windsurfing. So when I was there, I was like, whoa, this is the windsurf competition or windsurf life that I kind of imagined, you know, like the guys being relaxed also. I mean, some of them, all the gear laying around. It was really, for me, it was really like, whoa, I cannot believe I'm actually here. This is so cool. It was kind of unreal for me. Yeah.
Yeah,
No further comments.
Yeah,
Because I kind of want to hear your perspective a little bit, because coming from Olympic side, I don't know if in the Netherlands is the same, but in where I come from, the Olympic guys, they think of pro windsurfers that they do nothing but party and like get all this money. Get all this money for nothing and get all this gear, and like basically they're not athletes, and it's yeah.
No, that is a little bit true. I have to say, I was of course always in the Olympic campaigns, like this Olympic world, and for one or another reason, I just always thought that I could not do PWA, even though I thought that everyone actually really admired like PWA. I was following everyone. I love to watch, follow the competitions, follow everyone that was competing. And I just always thought like, yeah, that's not for me. But also there was this stereotype a little bit, like this idea of when you go to PWA, like it's all about parties and they actually don't train hard, So I think before I competed in PWA, I met a lot of course, the guys in Tenerife already. And there I saw how hard they were training and how hard everyone was pushing. But also, if I would walk up to someone and ask a question, they would actually help me in that moment. Like, I don't know up to what point, but enough to help me, continue. And that's why I realized, like, oh my God, everyone is training so hard. And I got so excited to actually do my first competition of PWA last year. So I have to say, my vision very much so was also a little bit like, okay, PWA is all about parties, etc. And now, unfortunately, I have not experienced any good PWA party because of the situation in the world. You know, that one I was very much looking forward to. But this whole thing that people are not training hard, that really changed my mind once I really got to know the scene in PWA, and also how professional everyone is with their equipment and how independent you need to be, because that's something you do not learn in a Olympic team. I think like there's a lot that you're reliant on a lot of aspects there as well, and in PWA you don't have a coach, so you figure it out yourself. And I think it's really that inspired me a lot to actually also just continue on my own road.
Yeah. What surprised you the most, Helle, on your first PWA event?
Well, I think what surprised me was also a bit the same. Like, I didn't think that I could be there. So I think what surprised me was like that I could like take part of this and actually be a part of like the professional world tour, which was a bit like amazing to me. But I think, and also like seeing that everyone is real and that everyone is like, no, but and he's like,
I know. Just
I had that when I went to Silt as a kid. Totally, like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're actually alive, and I don't know.
They're
It was
real
just
people.
super cool.
Yeah, I had that so much also with like Sarah Kita, for example. You're following her since you're a young girl, and you're like, oh my God, she's amazing. She's winning everything. And then suddenly you're on the starting line with her, and you're like, wait, what?
And she's making noises too.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just wanted to one more comment about what I said with the PWA. While it was this amazing atmosphere, I did not want to say that they're not working hard. On the opposite, like I think I knew more PWA guys from the beginning because I trained in Tenerife. So this was very much like this professional, really focused and independent, as you said super nicely before, way of working. I feel like we did that also from the get-go. And then I was more a bit confused when I came into the Olympic sailing, how everything was arranged for everyone, I felt like, and all they had to do was show up and go on the water. And I did not relate to that style of working at all. So I do have to admit also, like the way PWA riders work, this is very much like, it's super tough. It is super focused, super, and I really like it. And I think this is also more our style of how we like to work. So I can more relate to that. So I just wanted to mention that quickly.
Yeah. On your podcast, which we're going to talk about, you're not afraid to spill. So let's get some.
You're talking about the Tequila Tuesday?
Everything. So let's get some spillage, or let's do some spilling. On tour, who comes across like very quiet, doesn't have a big media profile, doesn't have an Instagram or whatever, but is actually a star when you meet him, or is like a really extrovert person, and who kind of?
You mean like?
I think it's Helle.
From us three, or like in general?
In general.
In general. I thought from us three. Fuck, this one's hard. Who would you say?
This is hard.
Who is a star? But
A star?
No, like who's like confident, because you judge these days. You judge people on their Instagrams and stuff, and like you'd think somebody is boring and quiet and whatever, but it turns out the opposite.
I think Martijn is a little bit one of those guys. Like, he's super funny, and you wouldn't and you wouldn't think from the profile. I think he's one of those guys. But yeah, like he doesn't.
Okay, maybe easier. Maybe an easier one. Who did you think was a total dick and actually turned out pretty nice? I like.
Oh, this way.
Okay, I know.
Really?
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay, there's actually two guys that straight away come on my mind, and it's like Tati and Amado.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. And now they're my teammates.
awkward.
No, in the beginning I was a bit scared of them, and also you, Maciek. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
I
also
thought about you.
I was really scared of
Yeah.
you. I remember meeting you or like seeing you around in Tenerife, and I was like, I don't know, you freaked me out. I was like, nope, not gonna talk to this guy.
I remember 14 years old me saw you and was like, please don't hit me.
I think it's just my face. I don't know.
Yeah, you have a resting bitch face.
Resting bitch.
Thank you. I'll take it as a compliment.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
So who's okay, so you mentioned Tari and Amado. So who was the most arrogant actually to you?
Oh,
No, I always thought that I always thought that Tati comes over like really like, I don't know.
Player? Yeah.
I guess. I don't know, just like really
it's typical windsurf stereotype.
just super yeah, I cannot really describe it in words, I guess, but I just don't know. Like I felt maybe a bit intimidated, and then I met him, and he's like, actually, he's great. Like I
The best, yeah.
so much laughs with him. He's so kind. Like he's not at all arrogant at all, you know. So yeah.
But who was arrogant then to you? Come on, let's get some spills.
Arrogant. Are we outing people here? I'm sorry. We're not about that. We are the non-judging Breakfast Club. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
non-judge.
I mean, I guess there are some arrogant ones, but also we have not really, like, we don't talk to those people. We don't try. Like, honestly, we're big on energies. So if we're like, we don't like your energy, we're not going to spend time with you because we don't want that. So
We're not claiming that energy.
we're not claiming that energy. That is a big one of us.
Who's
And I also have to say, I feel like we didn't get to know, well, I personally didn't get to know a lot of people well enough yet to make that judgment, because there was only 2 PWA events last year. So that was the only 2 I went to. And then Marignan, so PWA France was like, no one was on site.
That was the social one, no? That was the one to socialize and...
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we mainly tried to get juice out of other people for our podcast. So yeah.
Who's the dirtiest, like in terms of having dirty jokes and, you know, maybe...
3 of us? Or from the PWA?
If...
Elena,
no, but... And out of all PWA, it's also going to be Elena, isn't it?
probably.
You think?
Yes.
Like, I wouldn't say I'm dirty. It's more like I just own it. I'm just not afraid to follow the jokes. I do think I have a lot of, like, I feel like Amado is one to fuel that side also a little bit. I would say, but I just go along with it. Like, I don't know. I just think it's funny.
Who tried to slip into your DMs?
No one. I'm very lonely. No, I'm joking. No, but no one. The world is too small, man, for that shit. Like.
Yeah. I think, well, for me also, because when I entered the PWA, I had a boyfriend, which everyone knew. And not a lot of people know that changed, so no one yet. Oh
Just
my God,
putting
maybe
it
after
out
months
there.
now.
Just
putting it out there.
Back on the streets, back in the sheets.
That was my favorite saying. No, but no one really slipped in there, I would say. You?
No.
Well, guys, step up your game.
Yeah.
Bit of a disappointing segment, actually. The spilling
I'm
segment.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I'm also disappointed.
Honestly, I really I put a heavy focus on not trying to meddle in the windsurfing world, because I heard so many stories and I was like, nothing good can come out of this. Like, yeah,
True.
it's a little bit of a like.
It's probably true.
incest. Yeah.
And then
So I try not-
and then the energy gets really awkward.
Exactly. And we don't like awkward, so yeah. We venture outside.
Yeah. I guess you entered on the COVID non-party times.
That's true.
And a lot of us are too old to party anymore. So yeah.
You know what? Interview us again next year, and I feel like we'll have different stories to tell you on this one.
Okay.
But also, yeah, you're right. Like, also, a lot of people have like relationships and stuff.
Yeah, or married or have children. So
Oh yeah.
that is also a big point.
Tour children too. No.
Yes.
Oh, really? Is this gossip we don't know about?
No.
I think you have more gossip than us. Do you want to spill or
Not really.
or you you will on our podcast.
I'm the boring, like I just ask questions here. So,
right.
Yeah.
For now.
Okay, let's move on. What is the world of Wind Girls? Give us a definition.
Portfolio girl.
Portfolio girl.
Okay, so we defined, it's called now World of Windsurf Girls, by the way. So we had to change our name. Just
Funny story.
Funny story. We're stupid, baseline.
Yes.
And we did not look up if World of Wind Girls was copyrighted, which it is. So the word World of Wind Girls we're not allowed to use. So we decided to rebrand as World of Windsurf Girls so that at least it still stands for WOW. But basically what we defined it as that we're a collective of 3 like-minded windsurfers. And we all have the common passion of windsurfing, the common goal of the Olympics, with the mission to empower other people to take their own path. And we want to achieve that by using the Olympics kind of as a tool, by sharing our Olympic campaign, which is very different, as a tool to empower. And the special thing about World of Windsurf Girls is that we don't just want to have this egoistic path as athletes, but we want to also involve, next to the personal aspect, we want to involve social aspects and economical aspects to kind of combine all of that in one. Because as we mentioned before, we believe we will become better athletes if we have a good community, and also we want to give back because we feel like we have more to give than just being athletes. So yeah, it's kind of the whole package, and we want people to be able to profit also from our campaigns and from our lives, because it just feels a bit wrong to just take and not give anything back. So yeah, we decided to start a business or a community on the side.
Fucking hell, can I hire you as my PR person?
Yes, yes. At any time.
Okay, so there's all these tools these days, like social media and YouTube and whatever, a lot of different platforms. Why a podcast? Because you're like 2-3 young fun girls, and podcasts are a little bit like I'm too old to listen to music type thing, aren't they?
No. I'm gonna tell this story. Okay. So after Tenerife last year, we started traveling together. We met in Garda, and we had this lovely margarita night in one of the bars.
As always.
Yeah. And up until that moment, we shared
Just
a lot of
one?
our experience.
That was the beginning. Look.
We're not counting.
Yeah, we lost count.
Not even relevant. The more the better, right?
Can we skip this question?
So we were sitting and chatting and drinking margaritas, and then we realized that we find our stories really interesting.
We think so, at least.
Yeah,
we thought we were funny.
Exactly. But also this thought where we felt like, okay, we want to share our thoughts with the world. We already did that through social media, and a lot of our values came together in those chats. And then we said, let's put our word out there. So this was already established months before we launched, because we never had the time. And when there was actually a competition without wind for 10 days, that was the perfect moment for us to work out all of the
Details
aspects and details that we needed to do to realize the podcast. And it's just something we've all been listening to podcasts forever, so we're already
we're all the way in there.
Yeah.
We love inspiring stories. We love to get to know other people. We love to talk about subjects that we're passionate about, and also let's see how to approach it from different sides in a way. And I guess just to put that out there in a different way that's already being done. I think that was also just a really big common goal of ours.
And also on Instagram, so I always write those super long captions, kind of already trying to put my thoughts out there, but still I felt like it wasn't enough. There was
Nobody
just certain
reads them. From my
That is not true. I actually get a lot of comments of people always like privately messaging me about those texts. So actually they are being read. And also I don't mind, like I really put them out there for myself, but I still felt like there was more that had to be said that just didn't fit in a caption. And I think also when we're the three of us, somehow we always keep adding on each other's idea, and like we kind of make a topic even more interesting because we have these different backgrounds and we can all add from our own experiences. And sometimes we just need an hour to talk about one thing. And yeah, again, we don't mind if people listen, because we also partly do it for ourselves because we think it's interesting. We want to, share that with people that maybe want to listen to it, but if they don't, that's also fine.
Yeah, and in a podcast you can go way deeper. Like we can talk more personally and more freely, and like just have a bigger aspect, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely a very free podcast and a very personal thing, which we'll get to, because there is another big topic coming up. But on another note, do you think we reached a time in windsurfing, in sports, in life, I guess in general, or doing those kind of things like podcasts and like YouTube channels and stuff might be more important than actually, like, for sponsorship and money wise and whatever, it might be actually more important than competing on the water and performance and results?
I think that was not our starting point in the beginning. For sure, I think the whole online world, of course, I think it's super important for the windsurfing community in general, because that's anyways how you try to spread your message and also where you stand for. The podcast was just a small thing that we thought that, it was just this personal thing that we really wanted to do. That was a big passion. But in general, so also with World of Windsurf Girls, we see now that by having this podcast, we again can give back in a different way, and we can again spread our message in a different way, because there's so many, how do you call it? Like avenues. So many things. Yeah, exactly. You have podcasts, socials, websites, YouTube, blogs, whatever, vlogs.
TikTok.
So yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So and just spreading the message through different channels, for sure, I think makes you have a bigger reach, and that's what we also what we want. We want the message out there.
But I do have to say, like, this is personally said for us. Like, for us, this way works super well. But what you asked before, like, yes, I do think almost a bit unfortunately that for sponsors this is super important, because I also know that there is athletes out there that just want to be windsurfers and they just want to be athletes, and they maybe don't have the biggest Instagram and don't have a YouTube channel or podcast, and they really suffer from that, because sponsors nowadays, they just like when you have a big following. They just like when you have, maybe something else to give. And I think for us, this way is super good, because we want to do that anyways, whether that would be profitable or not. But I do know that there's people or athletes, like windsurfers in particular, that suffer from it. And I think it's really sad, because there are some amazing people out there and they do not get enough support because they might not be super talented in their Instagram game or marketing game in general. And I think that's really sad.
Yeah. So is the quiet introvert like officially fucked?
Exactly. And I think that's not okay, because there are some really great windsurfers that are introverts. So yeah.
Like me. Not. Okay.
No, you have a great Instagram. Come on.
Yeah, but it takes time. I think everybody can learn, and everybody can, in a way have some sort of a persona, no? But for some, it probably comes harder than others. Okay, speaking of Instagram, you had to know this is coming. So recently you posted a picture of you three sitting on a board, back to the camera, topless. And the caption said like 2,000 likes and we show the front, or we show the other side, or whatever.
First of all, I still think this is hilarious. Okay, first.
Wait. Let me finish the question. A lot of people found it brave and entertaining, but also a few kind of spoke out against it. Olivia Piana, who is an ex-pro windsurfer turned supper, S-U-P-R, I guess is a better word than supper, turned winger. I guess she's following the trends. Said you girls were selling your dignity for likes on Instagram, objectifying women's bodies. She was saying women are much more than tits and ass, etc., etc. So what do you have to say to that?
I think the feminists.
within us.
Okay, so
She's the feminist. She'll take it from there.
So first of all, like I like with this post, like if this was guys, there would be no conversation at all. That's the first point. Like,
Well, it will
there
get
would be
like half a like. It wouldn't get
Yeah.
2,000 likes.
That's true.
Not true, but I just think that we want to make it not so dangerous, because I feel like people are making it like such a big deal with nipples and boobies, and we just believe that it should not be like that. And also like the point on like that we are selling our dignity, I feel like that is very, very wrong, because feminism is not about covering up or taking off your top. It's about being able to choose what you want to wear whenever, and be respected the same whether, like, no matter what you wear. So I feel like we just need less judgment in this world. And I think when we posted this, we kind of wanted to provoke in a way, for sure. And I think we just, we want the message out there that we should be respected the same no matter what we wear. And fuck the patriarchy.
And also, kind of, honestly, the funny thing is, the reason we posted that and the reason we posted the caption was, post a picture, leave the caption there, move on. It's not a big deal. But our point was exactly proven by the haters, because, or also now this, literally, we posted that picture 2 months ago and people are still talking about it. I still get approached at parties or nights out about that picture. And that proves the point that people cannot, like, they're so interested in this for some or other reason, which I think stems from this patriarchal society, that if women uncover, that means that they're sluts, or that they need attention, or that somehow they're doing it for other people to seek other people's comments. But we just did it for ourselves. We thought it was fun. We put it out there, move on. It's not such a big deal. And we want a world in which it is not a big deal, because men do it all the time. And there's videos out there of guys fully naked foiling, and no one says anything except that it's extremely hilarious. And on that picture, you don't see anything. You don't see a nipple, or you see our backs, and people got so enraged by it that we were like, whoa, this is not what we want. This is not a world in which women can just choose what to do and choose what to show and then still be respected. Because honestly, I'm still the same windsurfer, the same med school student, the same respectable daughter, if I show my boobs or if I don't. It doesn't matter. It's more, it's my choice. And I think that needs to be accepted, because
for sure. And I feel like it's this weird thing about women being judged, like, no matter what they do. Like, if we do like something outside the box, we get judged. Like, you're wearing less, you're wearing too little, you're wearing too much. Like, there's never a right balance, and there shouldn't be a right thing, but like, you can never do the right thing anyway. So I think we just wanted to like provoke and just do whatever
I think it's what you say is not only women, is everyone gets judged by of everything these days. And it's a little bit like, if you sign into Instagram, I think you're signing up for it in a way. Like, or if you wanna have, like, there's almost nobody that is popular on social media that doesn't have like a hate following, or you know what I mean? So I guess it's part of the world we live in.
Like, also the negative comments, the fact that it was from another woman, like, this hurt me so much, because I was like, wow, this shame is so deeply engraved in other women that they feel the need to tear down other girls, even though we should all actually together fight for a world where all women are more accepted and where we are actually equal to the men. And then when I see that, it just really shows that there is just, even in women, this is so deeply engraved that we're not supposed to show skin, because otherwise we're unprofessional, that we're not supposed to speak up because otherwise we're too loud. And I was never upset. I was just so sad for other people that they are also stuck in this cycle of constant judgment, that they even feel they need to judge other people if they step out of line, whatever that line may be.
And there's such a harsh competition, like, between girls in general. I feel like we're so good at tearing each other down, judging each other, like, not playing a team. And I feel like we should stop like tearing each other down and start focusing on things that are actually important and work to like get them together, because I think,
And again, this is why we posted the other side, because we were like, you know what?
fuck the patriarchy.
Let's do it again. And people are also still talking about it. So,
yeah. I think the most important part here is just like, it does not define us as athletes. And whatever we do, you know, we know what we do, what we stand for. We train hard, and that's it.
Yeah. I for me, it was really interesting, and really, I'm no expert at all on those things, but I only ever experienced feminism in Olivia's way. Like you guys are all wrong, and I'm telling you how to do it, and it's got to be like this, like this, like this, and like that. And then you come, and it's like, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want. We're gonna be unapologetic. And I don't know, does that like not fit into the classic definition of feminism, or is it just divided? Like, you know what I mean? Is it just the girls just divided on that? There's different I don't know, like I'm trying to understand, and I can't.
There's a definition for feminism. Go ahead.
Like, I'm gonna get shit in the comments again.
Like,
not at all. Not at all. That's the point.
But I've actually read into this, and what I see is that there's different types of feminism in the different kinds of generations. So in a bit of an older generation, they had to do different things to get on the same level as the men. And now we are moving on, and we're more like, no, we're gonna do whatever we want, and we're gonna be respected whether we put up our top or not. So I think it's a difference in generation, and I think that the kind of feminism that Olivia also have, that has been needed before, and it is still needed, but we are kind of moving on and evolving this whole movement more and more. Actually.
And basically the point is of feminism, I think, and it gets portrayed so wrongly in the media, and it's horrible, because feminism is the equality of men and women. It's never been about women hating men, women trying to tear down other women or other men. It's not about that. It's about men and women being equal. And I think the problem with certain extreme feminists is that they made this word almost dirty. Like, there's women that don't want to be called feminists, even though I think anyone that came into this world, because we all came through a woman's vagina, should be a feminist, because everyone should be equal. So I think for us, what's really important is to be like, hey, we just want to be treated equally. We're not trying to tear you down or your success, because we don't care if you're a man or a woman. Basically, we want a world where it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a man. It doesn't matter if you're a woman. I think, however, as you said before, that sometimes extremes are needed to just bring out the awareness, to bring people talking about it, to make people rethink maybe in a certain way. But we're not about tearing men down. We're about getting the equal rights.
No, I feel like if you tear, like, feminism is often misunderstood because people think that we're like basically man haters that just wants to take over the world, but that is not feminism.
No.
It's just not feminism. If you want to like have the women being more powerful over the men, that's not feminism anymore, because we just want to be equal. And that is in terms of men too. Like, I know a lot of men struggle talking about their feelings, and feminism is fighting for that too, for the man's right to be vulnerable and not being judged by that too. So we're fighting for both sides here. We're just fighting for it to be equal.
Exactly.
Yes.
Amen.
Preach.
Yeah, nothing to add. Definitely, it's good to hear though. It's a very interesting topic for sure. Yeah. So I guess in terms of doing whatever you want and not being unapologetic, your podcast goes right in that alley. I mean, you have a feature called Tequila Tuesday. I mean, there's talk about threesomes, there's vagina talk, there's all
We're putting all dicks on the table. All the dicks are on the table there. Yes.
Yes.
Do you, like, I ask you this privately, actually, where is is there a line that you told yourself at the beginning, or you just go all out and you just see what sticks, and like, how do you?
What we said is that we just want to be ourselves, and we just want to bring our message across. So we always listen to what we've been chatting about, and if we feel like things are not clear or maybe the wrong message, we're also aware that we might, when there's even younger girls, maybe we are a example in a way. So we want to spread the right message. So we want to come. Yeah, I think that's a big important part.
I think also one of the biggest lines is we're not about talking about other people, tearing other people down. So we always make sure to not name certain names if that person will be, portrayed in a bad light. But what I actually think is funny that when you phrase this question, I think when we're talking about the line, people think about, the fact that we talk about sex so openly, which some people, what you just said, with the younger generation, people think maybe it's inappropriate, but actually we stand for the fact that it should not be inappropriate. It should not be a taboo. So if it comes to certain taboo topics like sex, other things that are just so natural, we're very passionate about talking about this stuff very openly, because it can be harmful if you do otherwise, actually. So
yeah, and also this thing about the Tequila Tuesdays, because we're athletes does not mean that we don't, we're not having fun. So we don't want to pretend as if we're something that we're not. But that does not mean that we have a Tequila Tuesday every week. We literally release one, So because we felt like it, we had a long winter in front of us, so we had all the time to recover from that one night, and we want to show that side as well. Like it's a lot of fun too, why wouldn't we not show that?
Yeah, and it's about the fact that you don't have to be one person, like also when you introduced me, I'm the one with dirty jokes, because I really embrace my sexuality, but that doesn't mean that I'm going around and sleeping with everyone in sight, I feel like if you do one thing, then that means in society that you're this type of person, you're in that box, and that's where you're going to stay. And I think we're all about, no, you can be this, but also that. So I can embrace my sexuality and go out for drinking and still be an exceptional athlete and be a businesswoman and, have huge marketing schemes and whatever. So yeah, it's about showing that you don't have to be stuck in one box, basically. Yeah.
Makes me feel really poor, in terms of not having that sort of mission, because breaking those boundaries and getting people out of those boxes, I think that's super, super important. But what's the feedback you're getting, or what's the weirdest feedback you got from, it's topics, it's, let's say, not necessarily hot topics, but it's topics that in windsurfing, for sure, they haven't been talked about ever, in sports in general, I think they're talked about very seldomly. And I think also if you were in a bigger sport, it would be scrutinized, I don't know, maybe differently, maybe not more, but you would just get more action, I guess, more feedback, more comments, more, right? So what's the general let's say what's the general feedback you girls got from the first 6 months?
Mostly really good.
Yeah, mostly really good, I guess, because everyone can relate, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think we talk about things that are very inappropriate. So yeah, we've had a lot of positive comments. Did we get I'm waiting for people to be a bit more critical.
Yeah, we want more haters.
Yes, yeah. No, honestly, I think because the fact that we bring across these taboo topics in a way that we show, hey, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Just talk about it, whatever. I think it makes people, when they listen, also feel like, hey, it's actually okay, because everything we talk about, everybody relates to. Everyone knows it. Just because it's not openly talked about doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I'm sure there's people talking behind our backs or gossiping with each other, because it's just so interesting for them to talk about someone else's lives. But honestly, to face up to date, we have not gotten any negative DMs. Usually super positive ones, long ones where people are telling their story. So this we get a lot, which is
which we love.
Oh my God.
Give
us more of that
Yeah.
also, please. But yeah.
I think people just appreciate us speaking our truth and just being ourselves and being open. I think we need more of that. Just
having a laugh as well. We literally just have some fun.
Yeah, not everything is that serious, I think, and people also notice that. But yeah, no haters so far, so guys, that's your chance.
Yeah. Let's move on then. You've talked about like best and worst things and advantages and disadvantages of being a woman windsurfer, which, as you said just before, in an ideal world, it kind of wouldn't exist, right? You would just be a windsurfer, right? So let's start maybe with the gear. Like, what are your top tips for girls to tune their gear, which is obviously made for men?
So I think what I really experienced is that in the beginning, I always copy whatever guys would tell me, like do this or do that. And then I was never sure if it actually was the way for me. So I started. So my top tip would be to really start to get in tune with what you feel and trust that because you're feeling what your board is doing. You feel what your sail is doing. So if something feels too heavy or too big, then work on that. Like there's multiple things that you can tune when it comes to downhole, trim, outhole. Like I think that's just a really, really important part to really follow what you feel. Like, yeah. There was this thing with, for example, where you want your boom height, like I experienced a lot, since I'm also a small person, that the lower I can put my boom, the more control I have over the gear, for example. And a lot of the time, even the cutouts of the front of the sail are not even low enough for me to put my boom in a place where I can actually control the sail.
And the other thing from a windsurf geek type perspective is I feel so sorry for short people because of the angle of the boom is totally different. It's designed actually, like when you put the boom more or less in the middle of the cutout, that's probably where it was tested, more or less. So it has a certain angle. And then also the lower you put your boom, the more bend you're gonna get out of the top, because the top of the sail there's more leverage, right? So it kind of bends away more. So you have this weird combination of your backhand feeling high because your front hand is low. It's not your backhand is high, but your front hand is low, and then so
that's what I know.
That's how we all learn.
I have no clue how it's different.
So I wonder how do you get past that to get to get maximum performance? Like, do you put more downhole than the guys? Do you, I don't know, like often
I think in general, also I've been speaking a lot about this with some other girls, and I realized as well that there's also smaller guys in general. So even though the gear is designed, by bigger guys, for sure, I just really believe that in the end, you should trust your feeling. And also, this is just the gear that you got. So you got to make it work as good as you can for yourself. But I'm not following any comments anymore on guys that tell me like, yeah, put your foot straps there because they have their foot straps there, when I learned that if I have my foot straps in a certain position as well, that if I feel in this balance, then you either move it forward or maybe more backward, or you move them closer together. There's things to play around with that. And I think that's just one thing that you just need to figure out on yourself. And I think that's something for everyone. And yeah, so I don't think there's like one general thing on gear that you can do.
So it doesn't really vary. It doesn't really vary because that's what in the end what we do as well. You just figure it out from scratch, and just try a million things and see what sticks. I think that's the.
But I also,
I
think what Sarah said before was super important also about, when you ask someone, like I would go ask like the pros, people like you, because I'm like, oh, you guys will know, and then I would get a tip and it won't work for me. No, and because you do, but then I get a tip and it doesn't work for me, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing something wrong because it must be true what you guys say, and it is, but just not for me, because I'm 20 kilos lighter, I'm a lot smaller. And then also, like you said, trusting that this is just not for me, even though it works for maybe the best windsurfers in the world, it might not work for me because I'm a woman. And then, you know, moving on from that and then finding your own way.
And I think when you talk about performance of the gear as well, like in the end, this still does have a certain perfect performance. So if you're going to suddenly trim it like with way more downhole, a lot of the time it doesn't make sense as well. So there's really this fine balance.
Yeah, Elena said like it doesn't work for me because I'm a woman, and I think it's quite important to say that it's like that for everyone. Like I can take gear from, I don't know, Arnaud Dagan is a good example. I cannot ride his gear for shit, you know. And then I would take somebody like Ben van der Steen, who's like 10 kilo heavier than me, and it would fit perfect, you know. So sometimes it's just really personal, I think.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
I still do think there should be more women in development, though. Like we've talked about this a lot, that we don't see a lot of women developing gear for other women. Actually, Anna Bajolini just brought out a women's line of challenger sails, which I haven't really talked enough to her to ask what exactly is different. But I think this is an amazing step into the right direction, because while we are making a small amount of percentage, well, we're a small amount of percentage in terms of athletes in windsurfing, I still think it would be nice to have a woman's perspective in the development of certain companies. I for sure think there's a lot.
And I think for
still.
boards it's actually possible, because you end up using the different sizes than the guys, like fin boards especially. Foil boards probably not so much, but fin boards, it used to be like the guys use the 85, 72 and 63, and the girls would use the 81, 70 and 60 or 59, you know. So that was
exactly.
Well, I guess that's in the past now with the foil. So
yes,
we're back to square one. Best thing about being a woman windsurfer.
I think that the community, like we're not so many girls, so we need to take care of each other. Like I feel like most of the girls in the windsurf world, like we're good friends, especially in the PWA, because it's such a nice atmosphere. Like even though we're fighting each other out on the water, we're always kind and including like on shore. And I think that is really nice about being female windsurfer.
I think another thing is also when I ask men for their opinion or their tips, they will usually give it away freely because I'm no competition to them. I know guys will usually keep certain things to themselves, which makes sense because they're competing with each other. And then often they would give those tips to us because what does it matter to them, you know, if we use them or not, because we're not a competition. So I think I really like that a lot when men help, you know, make the sport better for women.
From the outside looking in, the atmosphere between the girls does seem absolutely amazing. And if I remember from school or from uni or whatever, you know, social things, girls actually probably fight between them more than guys do. And when they fight, it's absolute havoc, you know. It's like it's hardcore, you know, with like calling names and really, you know, like, and then they don't speak to each other for a year or whatever. So it's crazy to see. It's crazy to see that in such a competitive environment, there is so much support. And I don't know, maybe I just don't see it, but I don't see you girls fight between, like, even if there's, I mean, some girls I know have been kind of scrutinized as maybe dangerous or sailing really hard, you know, like, but I don't see those girls being like excluded, you know, from the, so how does that work? And how do you manage? I think you could give that tip to the men, like, how do you manage to actually have such good relationships and good community, you know, when stuff will happen on the course. It happens, right?
Yeah. I had like, I've done so many races. I've had so many encounters as well with girls. I mean, of course, you don't have to like each other for, you know, making a mistake or maybe like, you know, fucking each other over a little bit on a course. But in the end, I think like what I experienced is that we never hold a grudge again, towards each other on shore. Also, there's like not any competition on shore because we need to, you know, work really hard to even try to get into a certain place, you know. So
Tell you guys a
Yeah.
story. They had a beautiful story in Silva Plana. These two.
Oh.
Oh, okay. So you spill your perspective and I tell mine after. Okay.
Okay, all right. Shall I start?
Start. Go
Okay,
ahead.
well, this was the first race of the World Championships, for example, and of all the people that I happened to meet on the course, it was, of course, Hella breaking the rules, passing it on port while I had the
Right of way.
I had the priority on starboard tack, and then I had to like fully batter away. I crashed because it was all so out of control on the foil, and I was super mad. Like throughout that whole competition, throughout that whole race, I was like, how could she just screw me over like that? She knows she doesn't have the right of way there. And so I was super angry, and we come through the finish, and I started yelling at her. I was like, girl, how could you do that to me? My first race. Like I ended up somewhere all the way in the back, and
She was angry.
I was super angry.
Angry,
I'm very
angry.
emotional in the water. So on shore, I guess we kind of talked it out.
No.
Well,
We
first,
did not.
we were like camping together, and then I come in there like super happy, you know, first race. I was like super excited, and it's dead quiet. No one's speaking a word. They're just sitting there, and I was like, what's going on? Like I was so happy. I was expecting music, you know, nice first day done. Dead silence. And then I looked to Sarah. I felt like I saw the steam coming out of her ears. Like, I've never seen you this angry before. And eventually you talked it out, but she had to take her moment. Like,
Yeah.
But the thing is that like for this super specific example, like
Maybe
I don't
because
hold
it
a
was
grudge
Olympic, you know. On the Olympic side, I see much more of the grunt between girls. I don't know why, but it's like
I have another example. So if, for example, in Israel, my first PWA competition, first competition on the fin as well for me, like slalom fin. I was like, whoa, it was super new to me. I think it was the second race, and there's no rules in PWA. So Oda, she jibes really close towards me, pushes me off my board. Also, I was a bit unstable on the fin by that moment. But then also, like, you know, on shore, I just walked up there. I was like, oh, girl, you know, like, you know, why, you know, it was so unnecessary. You could have just passed me anyway. You don't have to like push me off my board, basically. And then in the end, like, we just spoke about it, and it was fine. Like, in the end, it's in the heat of the moment. And, you know, also maybe from every side, there's this,
it seems like you have a lot of issues with Norwegians, Sarah.
What's up with that?
Yes. And I think like also in the PWA there are no rules. So that is kind of, I don't know, it makes it hard but also easy in a way. Like you just have to accept it. But yeah, I understand that you can hold a grudge. But I think in the Olympic, like if you have a problem, you go and protest. And if you win that protest, great. If you don't, then okay. So I think like, I don't know.
For me, it makes it worse, the protests. Because like in PWA, if you're like 99.9% of the time, you leave it on the water, you know?
yeah.
But unless it's something really bad or whatever, like, and in the Olympic thing, it's like you come to the beach and you speak to your coach how to fuck the guy in the protest or the girl, you know? And it's like, and it's like this, another rivalry in the room, on the table, who sells the best story. And I don't know. I hate it. I think it makes it worse, but it's just my opinion.
But what do you think? Like you say that you also feel like the community within the girls might be different from the community within the guys. Like, what do you feel like is different then? Maybe we can.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like in the men, nobody would prioritize a friendship over the result. Nobody. That's what I feel like, you know? Like in the end, you find out so many times that everybody's just out to win, you know? And somehow in the girls, I don't know, I feel it's just different, but it's like outside looking in, the grass is always greener, you know? So
Do you think we're less competitive, would you say?
no, I think it's just different somehow. Like I'd never seen a man like waiting for another guy after the finish to like hug him, and you know what I mean? It's just different, you know.
Would you like it though? Would you like that with the men? Like, do you think you would appreciate it as an athlete if, let's say, you finish a race and it went super well, and there's a guy waiting, like Jordi, Enrico, and they're like, man, well done, give you a high five. You go to your next race.
That happens. But I'm saying, like, in the water, like there's even, I don't know, like when I got my first podium, Sarakita was in the water there, like waiting for me after the finish to like hug me, you know.
But that's
you know
sick,
I mean?
No? Don't you love it?
Yeah, but I'm really past the point of wondering what we should do to have it like this or whatever. I just accept the way it is. No, I don't judge it in any way or whatever. I just notice this, and I just wonder about your perspective, if it's really the way it looks, or if it's or on the surface it's all like hugs and high fives and hooting, and then behind the back it's like,
no.
Yeah. You know.
Not at all. Like, I think this has also a lot to do with the fact that, well, maybe also it's about respect a little bit. I think, like, you know, that you don't, if someone makes a mess out of something on a race course, like everyone knows who's at fault, you know, and that person will also usually come up to you and apologize. And then also, why would you hold a grudge?
Maybe that's the opposite of the guys, because with the guys, exactly. It's never nobody's fault, never ever.
Exactly. And I think that is maybe like the biggest thing that you know, when you fucked up, you go, you apologize, and you move on, because you have another race to win, you know, like, so why stick to that moment in a way? And also, it's so much more fun if you can be supportive of each other. Like, in the end, we windsurf because we love it, and we want to make it a great experience, and we want to make it a good experience for each other. So I think also this is a point that helps us act like that.
Yeah, maybe it's an age thing too, you know, where there's a lot of guys, like you say, you know, having families to support, and, you know, like I've been the young guy on tour for a while, and I'm fucking 30, you know, so maybe that's, you know what I mean? Maybe that's
You're still young. No worries.
No, I feel young. I mean, like, but you know what I mean? It's like, maybe that's the difference as well. It's interesting. And I only wonder about that for the podcast, really. I mean, way past the point of, you know, there's way more to do at a contest than wonder about things like that. So, yeah. But making a living as a girl in windsurfing. I mean, I know actually brands that like publicly push equality, and then they don't offer girls jack shit, basically. And I don't know, it seems not easy at all. So no. I guess again, top tips for making it financially, sponsor wise, and etc.
I think we are super reliant on outside sponsors.
100%.
This is one thing for me, when I said in the beginning that I never saw myself in PWA, it's also because I never felt like I could actually, you know, grow and make a living out of it. Whereas when you're in an Olympic team, you have the possibility of actually earning the same salary as the guys do. Whereas in professional windsurfing, it's very hard. You don't hear that. So you are really reliant on outside sponsors, basically.
And prize money? No,
it's not prize money at all.
I mean, because nobody really, when you think of making a living, you don't really count prize money, because you never know how you're gonna do, right? But exactly. But it's there, and you know, I've been in a situation where by August I had no money, and then I went to a contest, won, and financed the rest of the year, you know. So and it was one elimination too, like in fucking shitty conditions and stuff. So but continue, sorry.
No. I just think that mainly when we're talking about how to approach that, so I never like at this point, I hope that also within brands, there's gonna be a change there, because there's been already such a big change over the last couple of years with everything that's starting to get more equal, which I think is great. But at this moment, like, it's not something I'm relying on. And yeah, so the way that, yeah, I think it's always good to rely on yourself in a way. So whether that's going to be through working a job for 3 months a year or 4 months a year and then earning a lot of money and then spending it on your campaign, that's one way that people do it. Another way is to actively search for, you know, where you feel like you can give value, and maybe search for partnerships or collaborations or sponsorships. And I think something that's very much from a lot of people think that sponsorships just come your way, you know, when you have a good result or when you have good looks or whatever, but none of that is true. I think that's just a really big misconception. So in my opinion, you know, I just felt I want to be a windsurfer. I don't know if I can rely on a brand giving me money or earning prize money. But what I can rely on is if I put the work in there for a good partnership or collaboration, I most probably get a chance. I might hopefully earn some money, and with that, I can put it into my campaign. And that's basically, I think, how that should be the mindset, I think, when you start windsurfing. And I think that's not just for girls. I think that's also for guys, you know. When you start windsurfing and you have this aim of becoming a professional windsurfer, you know, it's not as if you straight away get all your sponsorships or like as well, like collaborations with brands, you know. So I don't believe that for everyone that's a thing that you should rely on. It's nice, but I don't think that brings the sport further in general to just rely on the brands.
Yeah, and I think another reason that makes it hard to make money off windsurfing is actually, in my opinion, a bit of the jealousy that's around within the riders. So I remember coming into the professional windsurfing world, and I started my campaign and I immediately went to look for sponsors. And I'm really lucky because in my environment, like I somehow learned really quickly how to get to certain people and, you know, make the financial means happen and how to bring them value. And then I know that once I came into the competitions, people were like, oh, how does she have so many sponsors? She doesn't have the results. She doesn't do this. She doesn't do this. Like, how is this possible? Like, that's so unfair. Oh, it's because she's just a girl. And then I was like, oh, like, that's really weird that people react like this. And I would go, or people would come up to me and I would try to help them, you know, how can you monetize things you already do because it's possible. And I'd be like, oh, do you have a portfolio? And then people would be like, what's a portfolio? So I think the hardest thing in the windsurfing world, why a lot of people maybe don't manage to get to a certain amount of financial security, is because there's not enough knowledge. There's people lacking the knowledge on how to monetize on what they're doing every day already. Because I do think it's possible to bring more money in there. And I do think people, you know, can make a living, but it is hard work. Like, we're up every night working until 11, 12, 1 after we come off a full day of windsurfing on the water. People don't see it. We share it sometimes, but people don't really know how much work it actually is. And they just think, oh, you have one sponsor, they just give you money and you can just spend it on whatever you like. But it's just really not like that.
Yeah. And in addition to that, I think it would benefit the whole sport, I guess, to not just rely on, you know, having everything through brands. Like, that's just like my main thought on this as well.
And I think it would maybe even help the whole sport, because if you bring outside people in there, then maybe they will invest money into not just one rider, but multiple riders. And then, you know, like the network kind of grows and the sport itself would also grow. So I do think what you're saying is like, I personally don't have I now just signed with a new gear like sponsor in a way. But like, I'm not making any money off of that. Like, it's not very profitable for me at all. So I had to go venture out because I didn't have the results. But I do think that for everyone, this could be a really good solution in general. It takes off the pressure also a little bit.
Yeah. So what do you think needs to happen for that to, you know, to actually come into fruition? Like, you know, everybody having outside sponsors and, you know, girls, guys, because in a way, I think girls have more mainstream potential. Like, in the industry, it's probably, you know, harder because of what you said, like, less gear sold to men and all this kind of, whether they're reality or excuses, this is really hard to know. But on the outside, I think, like, like mainstream sponsors and stuff, girls have actually more potential. So what do you reckon needs to happen for, within the sport? What are your best ideas to actually push the sport forward into the direction of what you just mentioned?
Yeah, what for me is super important, that besides the whole tour that's already super equal, I think that within the whole community and mindset, that should be equal as well. So whether it's within the riders itself or whether it's with the brands, where that approach is going to be the same in a way, I think those two worlds trying to connect with each other and in that way help each other up, where maybe there needs to be a way to find outside sponsors without everyone being like so independent and so focused on themselves, which I fully get, because if you don't do that, you will not be able to fund your career basically. But I don't know, like I feel like there's so much knowledge on that just can be shared instead of just everyone being so independent. I don't know.
I also think it has to do with a little, like, I did realize there's some closed-mindedness, like people, like I heard a lot of comments, people being like, oh, like I bring the results, people, like sponsors should come to me. I and then I was sitting there and I was like, the world doesn't work like that at all. Like
I always tell those people like that they're actually competing against like 500 other sports plus Netflix plus Amazon Prime plus you're competing for attention basically. So you need to realize that.
And also it's not common, it's not common to have a manager in windsurfing or have like people around you support that. So I guess if that's going to be more like a normal thing, if that's just going to be the culture, where that's a thing, then maybe, that mindset also can change over the year. But I don't think it's like a solution from one on the other day. I think it needs to be integrated.
Like an evolution, yeah. And we've really tried to help that also. Like we've been brainstorming about a way, because we seem to have found a way, to find that money to help us support certain things. And we've been talking to find a way to, teach that to other people and how to approach it, because there is certain things everyone can do that will help them get more attention, that will help them, find the right people. If you want, I can give like 3 tips also to do that, but I don't know if that's, should be part of it. Yeah.
Go quick.
Okay. Okay, so one thing where I really found a lot of sponsors, LinkedIn. Super boring, sounds so stupid, but if you have a professional LinkedIn account and you just go to the search bar and you search windsurfer in your country, you will find companies, people's CEOs, people in high levels that windsurf as a hobby. So they will already have a relation to your sport. And now they moved on from windsurfing and now they have money because they have a job or a company. So you go and you text those kind of people, because first of all, you cannot just text an insurance company that never even heard about windsurfing because they don't care. So you have to find people that are kind of in your field. That's tip number
LinkedIn
one.
was number one for me also. I gave a little presentation about that stuff, and it's like I kind of approached it differently, but this might be really useful, because on LinkedIn, if you want to find the CEO of Coca-Cola, you will, you know what I mean? So you can find people, find the person, the marketing manager of X, Y, and Z. So yeah, okay, go. Number 2.
Number 2, portfolio. Okay, I know a lot of people don't really know what that means, but basically a portfolio is a PDF. You can make it a PDF file or a PowerPoint presentation where you shortly explain who are you, so like, biography, what do you do, so windsurfing, and then more importantly, why do you do it / what is your goal, what is your purpose? Because no one's gonna come and give you money if you're like, oh, I'm a windsurfer, I just want to windsurf, because what is in it for them? You have to find the value you can give back. And I've helped other people, get sponsors, and sometimes that value is just that your sponsor has a lot of money, he likes windsurfing, you'll just take him along and you have a windsurfing clinic or stuff like 3 days a year somewhere in, let's say on Tenerife. They will buy their own flights, they will book everything themselves, and all you do is spend the day underwater with them. They just want to be part of the windsurfing world, and kind of realizing what you have to give, because there's actually, every person can give so much more than they think. Like, especially us as professional windsurfers, you know how many people sit in their offices and would love to have our lives and would give a lot of money to just be part of a certain portion of that, maybe. So yeah, kind of realizing your worth and then making a portfolio that you can send out that makes sense. So I read it and I'm like, whoa, cool sport. The sport looks fun. The life looks amazing. And this is their purpose. And I want to help them get to that purpose with money, kind of. So this is what a portfolio entails. And then I think my third tip would be to maybe find a passion outside of windsurfing and then combining that with windsurfing in a way. Like for us, it's this empowerment that we're trying to give, this inspiration, this mindset thing. And through windsurfing, we can kind of realize that. But let's say you're really passionate in the gym. Maybe you want to, you know, combine that with windsurfing, and that kind of just creates more value for you, because unfortunately windsurfing still is kind of like an outside sport. So if you connect it to something more relatable or more mainstream, people will have more access to it in a way.
I'm going to add one to that, and that is to just do it and put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Because this is also something that is really scary. It's, you know, it's not like the easiest thing to do it and ask for collaborationships, but once you start doing it, you will get the return. Like, I'm 100% sure of that.
Yeah, the worst thing that can happen is somebody not replying to you. So
or no, also, like, who cares? And you're at the same place. Like, it doesn't matter, you know, like, to not be afraid of rejection. That's a good one. I like that one, Check.
Yeah. All right, girls. Was it scary then? Was it worth to be nervous? Especially you, Hella. You said like 3 words the entire podcast. So
she just took over the feminism.
Yeah. Anyway, so World of Windsurf Girls podcast is available on Spotify and all the other podcast platforms, I would get.
Yeah, we do Instagram and Spotify for the podcast, but just for us as a team, which we literally launched last week officially. So that we are also on LinkedIn, of course.
Of course. But we're all just starting this up, and we're releasing a website very soon. So also that is coming, and there's going to be a really cool video also.
Yeah.
So yeah. And a newsletter, you can sign up for it.
Right on. Find them, follow them. Listen to their podcasts. A certain person is going to be on one. So.
Oh, we're excited for that one.
We're so excited for that one. Yeah.
Right on. Thank
much.
you, girls.
It was such an honor, honestly. Thanks for also, like, we're not that known. And I love that you just, you know, give us this platform also to spread our message. So thank you.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
There we go. Super fun podcast and interesting to get a take from the younger generation. I think Maciek did pretty well handling that one. If you like that podcast, give us a thumbs up. Like, we do have plenty of other women, girls lined up, but they need a bit more planning. So they are planned in, they are coming. So if you want to see more women on the podcast, don't worry, they are coming thick and fast. Subscribe to the channel. We do a podcast every Wednesday, and let us know in the comments below who you want to see on the podcast. I think we need to see some designers, don't we? That's what I would like to see. So there we go. That is it. If you've not supported the channel, you want to become a member of Windsurfing.TV, you can chip in some beer money. It's all on the website, www.windsurfing.tv.